We're in chapter 19. And it seems like Sodom and Gomorrah is like one of those, well, it's definitely one of those events that happens that talk about being in the psyche of the people, of the children of Israel, right? It was like the flood, like Sodom and Gomorrah. It was like, well, it was God's expression of judgment, right? How he lets things go on, but eventually he puts his foot down. He, you know, and Sodom and Gomorrah is that. And when we left off last week, we had the Lord and two men who we will discover are two angels, which we said doesn't really say a lot, but we're guessing that the fact that it was two men, two angels. Two angels just means messengers. I say this so that we don't want to just jump to quicker. When we see angel, we think instantly some bright guy with wings.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you'll be very hard-pressed to ever find an angel anywhere in the Bible with wings, actually. Closest you'll get would be seraphim and cherubim. But you wouldn't even call them necessarily as angels. They are seraphim and cherubim, right? Guardians, more like. So a messenger, and you will find that men, regular human beings, will be referred to as angels, right? I think it's malach in the Old Testament, angelos in the New Testament. But we left off when the Lord said, with his two angels, his two, I'm trying to think of the word to use to describe them, his entourage, two of his, the divine who are with him. Remember, the Lord and two angels come up and they walk up. And you'll see what I'll bring up again. They come walking up. I don't know where they come from. How long have they been walking? And he's the Lord, and they're angels. So why do they have to walk? But they walk. And they show up, and you have the big feast. And that was the thing I wanted to pick up on. Remember the hospitable nature of Abraham. He pours into them, gives them a grand feast, right? Which was really big in that culture, because when you went walking around, your big chance of making it, especially if you were in between towns, is hopefully somebody would take you in and give you some food.
Because can you imagine having to carry all that everywhere you went?
Yeah, you couldn't.
It would be hard.
Yeah. And so you depended upon hospitality. And the Bible kind of really raises up hospitality as showing a very good person, or not so much, if you remember Nabal not being hospitable to David. And David kind of thought, okay, you're going to do that way, I'm going to go ahead and whack all you guys. And so that's the way it was, because you weren't a good person if you weren't being hospitable. And you'll see why it's important when we get to Lot. Because we've been trashed. Mom, you trashed a little on Lot. Monty thinks he's, and I want you to bring it, Monty. You got to bring it. I want you to, you know what? The Bible does not, the Bible kind of like, it kind of invites us to kind of, what do you think of these characters? Abram, good? Lot? No. And I think that's good, Okay, so anyway, but when we left off, you had this kind of barter session between the Lord and Abraham, right? Where the Lord said to Abraham and the two angels, he said, shall I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do? Basically, I'm going to be going down to Sodom. The outcry there is great. I'm going to go down and find just how bad it is, and if it's too bad. And, it's interesting that the fact that Abraham breaks right into the bartering, he pretty much knows it's bad. And, of course, we suspect, it doesn't say it outright, it's going to be confirmed in chapter 19, though, that he's bartering for Lot's life. And so it seems like he wants to save Lot, but he won't come out and say it. But that's pretty much what he does. Starts at 50 and dwindles down to 10. Would you spare the land still if there's only 10 righteous people? The Lord said, yeah, for 10 I will. And so it makes you wonder, did Abraham think, okay, at least there's 10. we're going to find out that there isn't. Really.
You would think that he would have said, if there's any righteous person in the town,
Yeah.
will you save it?
Yeah.
Instead of, bartering down, well, let's start at 50 and go down to 40, 45, 30. Wouldn't it have been easier?
Well, what's interesting is maybe, so they're in the culture of the ancient Near East, you didn't think in terms of individuals. You thought in terms of community. Your identity was in the community, not in you as the individual. So maybe after less than 10, it's like, well, you ain't got 10, then you ain't got a community. And, right? Whereas we would think in terms of single.
Yeah.
Right. That's one possible reason. But anyway, okay, so we'll read through chapter 19 because we're going to see now that the two angels, starting at verse 1, chapter 19, they came to Sodom in the evening. And we'll just read it, verse 3. And Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. And when Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed himself with his face to the earth and said, My lords, please turn aside to your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet. Then you may rise up early and go on your way. They said, No, we will spend the night in the town square. But he pressed them strongly. So they turned aside to him and entered his house. And he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Okay.
So somewhere along the line, God stopped traveling. God left the scene and sent the two angels on.
Well, if you remember, when you read through the text in 18, there was a time when the two men left, it said, to go to Sodom.
Okay.
But to your point, though, I'm thinking, okay, so they walked. They just walked all the way. You would think an angel at some point kind of go, you know what, we're done with this. Snap, and we're there. Well, no. In fact, as far as we could tell, even though, look, they're walking and acting like they're like us. And so they kind of eventually show up at Sodom. Yeah. It's good. That's good observation, Linda Sue. It's good. All right. And what's Lot doing?
He was sitting at the gate,
He's sitting at the gate.
so he was important.
So he had moved up in the world. Right? We talked about, when you're out, first he was kind of outside of the city, with his flocks and herds. Well, I guess we got to assume he still got them, I guess. I don't know. But when you sit at the gate, that's where all business and government and civil transactions are done. In fact, they'll refer to him as a foreigner, but as a judge. So he's now the head honcho at Memphis. That's what kind of, he's one of the bigger guys, right?
He's sitting at the gate at night. I wonder why.
Yeah, interesting.
They don't say what time.
Yeah, not what time of night. Why is he there? Okay, that's a good observation too. And
And then he bowed to the ground.
How did he know they were angels? How much different did they look than the rest of the people?
there's good indication that maybe he didn't know, because if you remember the Hebrews, I want to say chapter 13, verse 2. Look, I was going to quote it. Basically, don't be afraid to show hospitality because some have entertained angels unawares, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
And that it seems that definitely is referring to this. So it's kind of alluding to the situation with Lot. I mean, look what happened to Lot. Okay. In fact, I will read it to you just so. It says, do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. And so, interesting, huh? Okay. So the writer of Hebrews still thought, hey, you never know. Right? You never know who you're going to run into. Okay. So Lot he is sitting at the gate. That seems kind of troubling. Right? He's been in Sodom too long.
Maybe he was trying to make a difference.
He was a missionary.
Nice.
Because we know, we know some of our Christian friends that were missionaries and now in city council
Yes. Yes.
for that very purpose.
Yeah. Mom and Monty, I don't think they go with that. Go ahead and bring it.
I feel like you're creating these teams of
No. I love. Hey,
no. How you cast your lot? You know?
in honor of Charlie Kirk, with friendly debate here. Go ahead.
Okay, but all right. So I want to highlight something. You said he was a judge, right?
See, they refer to him as that. We'll see that. Yeah.
But in 9, my Bible says like a judge, not a
Okay.
judge. I thought you said he was a judge.
Okay, maybe it's better, like you're saying.
When we get to 9.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
jumping ahead,
okay.
I'm sorry.
No, but he definitely and it seems like a few might have resented it.
Yes.
And now either he was trying to make a difference, or because then again, the other hand, we've also met a lot of people who have kind of went in with, oh, I'm going to go in this bar and I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to save people, and next thing you know, they're 3 sheets to the wind.
It was somebody in Memphis that a shooting happened. There was a preacher in the bar not too long ago.
And he broke it up.
So I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. It was something of a preacher in a bar in Memphis. It was something happened.
so do we see Lot the good way, or do we see Lot like, oh come
We
on,
really
Lot.
don't know.
Yeah.
Just guessing.
Yeah. How does the Bible want us to take it? Okay, we'll go with that. We're just guessing.
Well,
Okay.
he wasn't a good father later on.
But either way we want to look at it,
Yeah.
what does he do?
He brings him in his house. Right?
He brings them in his house, okay? And the Bible wants to highlight that. He is being hospitable. And that's exactly what Abraham did.
Want them to spend the night in
Yes.
the square.
He
No.
urged
He
them
knew
to
that
get
was
on.
not good.
Yes.
He knew that wasn't going to turn out good.
Yeah. He was protecting them.
I think so.
Yes.
No, you come to my
And the
home.
men realized that he was protecting them because they came. That's when they got angry. We haven't gotten that far, but yeah.
Yeah.
But wouldn't the angels know that would be dangerous? Why
That's
would they-
that's the next thing I want to bring up. I think they absolutely would. So then why are they wanted to like sleep in the open? Of course they're not afraid.
No.
Right.
So it's kind of like, yay, we'll just sleep out in an open square.
Anybody comes around, we'll just zap them.
So let me ask you this question. 'Cause I think the hospitality, see, we skip over this because for us in our culture, hospitality is not a big thing that proves who you are. But you were risking yourself big time by being hospitable to people. So this was a way of demonstrating, are you good or not? Right? This was a real big way. And so here's the thing I wonder about. If Lot did not invite them in, would he have been rescued?
Maybe not.
I would say yes. Because more you read, I'm jumping ahead, that they said, you got to go. 'Cause
Yeah.
They sounded like they had standing orders
Yeah.
in the text. So I believe the correct answer would, no, Lot could have still refused them, and the angels still would have saved him.
Hmm. You wonder how.
Well, they
Well,
probably
they
knew where he
blinded.
lived.
They blinded people right then, right?
Well, you remember in that same, we'll get to it, they said, do you have anybody else in your family? And so he went to his son-in-laws, and they just laughed. They thought he was joking. So they didn't get saved. Right? Kind of like when Paul said, remember when Paul was on that ship, and it was, and the Lord said, we're all going to be saved, we all have to stick together. And then when some of the criminals wanted to like sneak off, or either criminal or some of the hired hand when they wanted to sneak off on some little boats. And Paul said, unless we all stay on the ship, we can't be saved. So I kind of wonder, it's somewhat of a litmus test too. And what you're, or it's either that or the Bible setting it up as, see, Lot was righteous. And what I want to bring to you is that it's how he demonstrated that is through his hospitality. which I find kind of interesting. I mean, we will never know, but he brings them in. But and I also find interesting is, and here's the bizarre thing, is they tell him, no, we'll stay out. See, that's kind of reminiscent of me to how God is, how God, if we don't want him, he'll just keep on walking. Like there's this one interesting, it's like he wants to be wanted. Right? He wants us to seek him. But if you don't want, he goes, okay. And it reminds me of that time, in fact, I think only Mark is the only one that brings this out, is Jesus walking on the water. And one of the most bizarre things, he says that he was going to walk past them, past the boat. He was going to pass by. He wasn't going to get in the boat. He was going to keep on going. And the disciples had to say, whoa, who are you? And then it's me. And then he got in.
And weren't they struggling?
Yes. And so it's like,
he was going to walk past them while they're struggling.
so was he going to just walk to the other side? Don't worry, you'll get there. Okay. But the point being is, like, they had to call him in. So I can say nothing definite, but it's interesting. Just what you brought up is like, why would they say, why not just go directly to him and go, look, we're here for you, Lot. No, we'll stay out in the square. Lot, no. And of course, I think Lot says, you can't stay out there because you got some sickos.
You won't be here in the morning.
Bro, yeah, you won't be. Yeah.
You can't stay up.
Yeah. But I do really want to highlight the idea of being hospitable. How can we relate it to our... So it was definitely controversial for Lot to do this, as we're going to see, because the men go surround his house. Right? Because when you had new people come into your town, that was dangerous. You didn't know who they were. Which I'll even kind of suggest to you an alternative to what we're going to read. I don't think I go with it, but based on that. Based on when somebody new comes in through the town, you want to vet them. You don't know who in the world they are. Lot takes a big risk on bringing them into his place, but he's doing it because it's the right thing to do and he wants to protect them. Right? And not only that, but he cooks them a big meal, unleavened bread, because why?
Because he's in hospital.
But why unleavened? What's unleavened bread? Well, why were the Israelites later on?
No flour.
Hmm?
Lift up out of the flour.
Yeah, but why was the bread unleavened?
Leaven was related to sin. So it was the leaven was like a picture of sin. So unleavened meant sinless.
That is nice, but more practical.
Are you talking
Not time.
The time, yes. You made the bread in haste. The idea of unleavened bread was because we are out of here.
Exodus?
I see.
So like, right, unleavened bread, like, okay, we're going to get, remember, he said early in the morning and you can go. Anyway, yeah, good. Okay.
So we'll kind of to think this through a little bit deeper, is that how did Lot get away with not being attacked? If he was so worried about the angels, how was it that Lot could be at the thing and not worry about what they were going to do to him?
Because he'd been there so long, he's sort of like,
Wait, so say that again? Say it like I'm a 5-year-old. I see that I'll see that on
Okay,
X all the
so-
time. Explain that to me like I'm 5.
Okay.
I got a chance to say that. Cool.
He's worried about the angels. Why was Lot worried about himself? Why was it that he felt comfortable going into the square at night and not being worried for his own safety?
Well, I thank you for that, because you probably won't like the answer I'm about to give, but it segues right into what I wanted to say.
Oh, okay.
Because and if we understand the hospitality, what do we see? He's risking his life. And, when we think of like what makes a true Christian, right, we look for things like, how's your theology? Do you read your Bible? Do you show up at Sunday church every Sunday? Do you do all these things? Because for us, we've not been under threat for so long. That's how we try to define who a Christian is. Well, you read your Bible, and what was it to define? Like when Paul would say, hey, these people are solid. They risked their lives for you. And that's the idea behind hospitality. So yeah,
That isn't what I was talking about.
well, it was perfect for what I was going to say. Thank you.
No, he's been there for a long time. Why is it that he never worried about himself?
How do you know he didn't?
I don't
think
know.
he did.
That's what I'm kind of saying. I'm saying that he definitely did think it was
but
kind
he
of
just
dicey.
knew that's not a place you need to be. You don't need to be out in the square. Bad things happen out there in the middle of the night. I don't want you there. I don't want harm to come to you.
Say it to me like I'm 5 years old. Well, you know what?
He still didn't get it. No.
Well,
Beat up the whole
okay, let's go with 3.
Say it like he's 4 years
Yeah, like I'm 4. Not like a 5-year-old who just went to Kite Elementary and was behind. But, well, you know, who knows? Maybe that's one reason why he became high up. He was trying to insulate himself against, maybe he was always under threat. Maybe it was a dicey area. Now, that makes you wonder, bro, why don't you leave? But then we know people who live in the middle of Las Vegas. Why don't you leave? Well, man, the bright lights and the AC/DC concerts, let's go.
Well, I think you maybe hit it on it when you first started talking about him at the gates. He was a businessman. He traded probably sheep, goats,
Yeah.
and everything. So they needed him the part of.
Okay.
So he may have been needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. But the idea of him, idea of risk. See, I think it's not by accident that the Bible has first thing he does, Abraham, is being hospitable to these 3 guys coming up, right? One being the Lord. And now we're watching Lot, though clearly he's not Abraham's speed of faith. Clearly he's not. But you're seeing him being hospitable. And I think the Bible's trying to say, see, he's little, but he's good. And look at what he's doing compared to the rest of the men. And I think the Bible wants to see that. And I'm saying the idea of being hospitable, which is not something I'm very good at. And so, and how important it was for them. And then maybe now trying to draw a line like, how can we do the same today? What would God expect from us?
I think new people that come to church, like somebody that shows up or goes to our class for the first time, we take them to lunch. You know, things like that.
Yeah.
Invite them
Or
home.
even just talk to them. Because sometimes a new person shows up and nobody wants to talk to them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
do you think they're going to stay after that? No.
Right.
So just at least go up and talk to them. Make them welcome.
Like it. I didn't ask you, how is Hope is doing okay?
She's a little upset this evening, but she comes home tomorrow.
Hmm. Okay, well, just when you see her, have a catcher's mask on, protect the face.
Right?
And send, yeah.
Yeah, more like a biker's hunt.
Yeah, go punch away. Go ahead, get it out. Okay. All right. So anyway, so now we'll find out why. Now we're going to find out why Lot was concerned and says, "Please do not sleep out in the open square." I just find it interesting that they were actually going to do that twice, and it's good observation, Monty. You would think that clearly the angels understood this was not a good place. So then, why would you then say you want to stay there unless you're not? Remember how we were talking about, hey, the Lord was like trying to get Abraham to say what he really wanted, to intercede for Lot. It kind of makes you wonder if the angels are kind of doing the same thing. Don't you want to ask? Don't you want us to come? Right? They're trying to bring the best out of Lot, and Lot shows some good stuff.
Maybe
Anyway,
he wanted the angels to protect him from the beastly people outside.
self-preservation. See, well, that's a new one.
That could be under the guise of hospitality.
It seems like he's trying to protect them, But, I mean, did he know?
Well, no, because later on he walks outside with the man instead of hollering through the door or something. So he's not worried about himself. He's worried about
Interesting.
him.
Interesting. All of it's good, yeah. And why does Lot feel, I mean, self-preservation? That's a good one. Also, though, like, yeah, again, didn't tell us, but like, why Lot? I mean, other than him being a good man, and he, I know I'm using it loosely because we're going to read next year. We're going to go, holy cow. I'm going to do a little bit. I'm going to try to help Lot out here. I don't think it's going to work. I'll give you a few alternative ways to look at it because it's kind of brutal. Anyway, verse 4. But before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both young and old, all the people to the last man surrounded the house. And they called to Lot, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us that we may know them. Okay. So, there's been this, I'll just say this, so we can kind of scoff at it. Okay. It's just like it's been this theory, alternative theory of what's going on here that a few have kind of suggested. And so it would be, we may know them in that they want to know who these guys are. Because they are, they come into the town and they're upset because Lot just brings them in and doesn't do the proper vetting. So now they're ticked and they're coming here and they want to know who these guys are. And that's why they're coming.
My version says sex.
Huh?
My version says sex.
Well, and the reason why your version says it, even though it actually may... well, because
That's cordial.
it's actually, it is the words are actually may know them.
Mm-hmm.
But that euphemism usually means just exactly that, like Adam knew
his
Eve.
wife, right? Yes.
And she produced us. We don't take that as she knew a little better.
Mine
And
says
Mary's
for that verse.
husband
Yeah.
also did not
Yeah.
know her before the birth of Jesus.
Right.
So that is Scripture's way, which is so much nicer than everyone has sex. No, knowing somebody.
Yeah.
When you know somebody.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like how you talk about grabbing Abraham's thigh?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
very
it
nice
was
about
not so much the thigh.
Yes.
So they was just being
Polite.
Yeah.
And by the way, similar, we'll say things like, oh, and they knew the Lord. Well, the idea of know is to know intimately.
Yeah.
It's not to know about him, it's to know him. Right? Like a husband and wife know each other intimately. Same idea. So that's why, and generally when you see that phrase, may know them, it usually involves sex. So that's the problem with that theory. But I got one more. That's a little easier maybe for Lot. Because Lot's going to do something that does not sound cool. Okay? And it isn't, even with the excuse I'm going to give, potentially, it doesn't absolve him of everything, but maybe it helps us to understand a little. Okay? So anyway, they say now, right? Where are the men that we may know them? In verse 6, Lot went out to the men at the entrance, and he shut the door after him, and said, I beg you, my brothers, do not act so wickedly. Behold, I have 2 daughters who have not known any man. Let me bring them out to you, and do to them as you please. Only do nothing to these men, for they have come under the shelter of my roof. We'll finish down to verse 11. But they said, stand back. And they said, this fellow came to sojourn, and he has become the judge. And he's become the judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them. Then they pressed hard against the man Lot, and drew near to break the door down. But the men reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house with them and shut the door. And they struck with blindness the men who were at the entrance of the house, both small and great, so that they wore themselves out groping for the door. So we got a problem with Lot.
Oh my goodness. Here's my daughters.
Yeah.
They've never known a man, basically my virgin daughters. I'll
Well, they
bring
did-
them out to you.
They didn't want the women, they
No,
wanted the men.
I know, but just that dad would even say that about his daughters?
Yeah.
And if we try to go with the, well, he knew that, they didn't want the girls, and so that ain't gonna be much better.
No, bad,
Yeah.
bad.
The alternative to this would be, is that what he is really saying, like more like a sarcasm, like, what, you want to take my daughters too? And that's a potential that he's not really offering them the way it's sounded and presented, but it's more like he's kind of like when, you know, a mortgage company is going to come and take your house. Well, you want to take the food up my kid's plate as well, then might as well.
Then
And so-
what-
So,
But he says, let me bring them out to you, and you can do whatever you like.
well, okay, this is where you go back to translation. It depends on how it's translated.
Okay.
Okay.
But I'm trying to help Lot out. He's my brother now, according to 2 Peter. But I don't know. One thing you can say though, well, you can see how zealous. I mean, I do when you invited someone into your house, they were to be protected. I mean, to be hospitable to someone and bring them into your house, and then have something happen to them. That was like brutal bad.
Yeah.
Brutal bad, right? You just didn't. See, so even if he, you know, was kind of like only being sarcastic about his daughters, right, or however it might be, even to go that route, you could see how zealous he was. No, I'm not bringing them out.
Okay, all right. Don't cut.
Well, I'm not so sure. I'm just saying it could be, but either way, it is. I mean, you could make a case he's very callous, you know, Sod, very callous.
I don't see the sarcasm is to me is black and white.
Yeah.
I'll bring them out to you.
If
You
that
can do whatever you want.
if that's how, if the translation is correct, then, and that's how it's always presented to me. In other words, I've always, this is the first time I've kind of heard an alternative, and, you know, I kind of welcome it in a way just because, holy cow, really?
It's hard to believe
It's
you
hard
could
to
be so
defend that.
callous.
Yes, I mean, but the Bible does not hide, and the traditional way that was taught was what we just said.
Yes.
He basically was going to offer his daughters, sucks to be Lot's daughters.
Yeah.
Yeah, brutal. If that's the case, it's not good. But then, yeah, the men, and then I've heard all kinds of interesting stuff, and I'm trying to, I don't know, like, what is it about these men? Do these men recognize they're angels? Or is there something like, okay, imagine, all right, not fully understanding who or what angels actually are, if they are like our elder siblings, you might say. What did they look like? Were they tall, fair-skinned, like Nordics? I bring this out because they were distinctive. Lot, right? And maybe they stood out. I don't know what's going on here, right?
Or maybe Lot had intuition.
Well, there's certainly some, very well could have some of that there. Yeah. Maybe he had a little bit of intuition left, huh? Because Abram was much sharper on it, but maybe even Lot still, yeah. So Lot's not as good as Abraham. He's not as bad as the Sodomites. He's like a backslidden Christian, we would say, right? Still got some of his marbles, but not all of them. I don't know. Okay.
What kills me, and that's why I believe when Jesus destroyed the city, it starts early in verse 4. It said, before they went to bed, the men of the city of Sodom, both young and old.
Yeah.
The whole.
Yeah.
The whole. That's all.
Yeah.
The whole population surrounded the house. That was the whole town.
Think about the depravity of that. You really let that sink in, right?
I had to
All
wait.
the men of this town came to rape the two men that came in.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. That takes a little bit to
Yeah.
think.
And the wives, what are they doing? They're just sitting there like, holy cow. What
Well,
a,
there might not be any wives.
That makes you wonder, yeah.
well, there has to be.
Or they
Because
have-
how do young men come about? There has to be women somewhere.
Yeah. They're at home sleeping while they're out doing what they wanna do.
Maybe they don't care anymore.
Clear that they did. 'Cause
Well, I mean, the
they're-
women were the only
They
sane
didn't
ones.
care, 'cause-
Yeah.
'cause it was that bad, maybe.
Yeah.
They're all out there together even. It wasn't
Right.
like, okay, the 5 of us are gonna
Right.
go do this. That's the whole community.
The whole town.
Yeah.
Well, it
Yeah.
could have been too, like, some cultures, they are perverse like this, and the women are just there to do the chores.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's, I
And
mean,
the youngins.
the women are always the last to fall. They see when you start seeing the women fall in the culture, it usually means, uh-oh.
You're in trouble.
Yeah. And so I think definitely what you're saying. But we're definitely getting the backdrop of, right, Lot is not them, not Sodom.
But
And
the
that-
city really was as evil
But the city was,
as the
brutal.
Lord said.
Yes.
I want
Yeah.
to come and say
That's
if
where I
it really is as evil as I'm
yeah,
hearing.
To
Yeah.
me,
Yes,
that
it
right
is.
there is the biggest point
Yeah.
to make Lot look good out of all
Yeah.
what I've read.
Yeah, yeah.
That little bit, because he is different than the whole
yeah,
town.
yeah,
So,
Though
Yeah.
these men are under my roof, my protection,
yeah.
not do this evil thing yet. They were just.
And obviously, Lot didn't seem to participate with them. In other words, he's like, that's not his thing neither. I've got me a wife. Well, he won't have her for long. We'll read that too. But I got me daughters, and we don't do. So then again, it makes you wonder, why'd you stay there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why- What is
Yeah.
attractive about the place?
Yes.
What good can be in a place that is
Yes.
worth
Can-
like
can-
this
Exactly.
environment?
can I say
That
one
would be
thing?
the
I
one.
think it's his wife. I
Yeah.
really think his wife wanted to be there. I think it
I
had
think
it-
she was from Sodom. So
And that's what- and-
that's
yeah.
why she wanted to
And we're
stay.
going to see that she did want to be there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ah. So yeah, Lot is a victim of his wife. No, anyway, yeah, she did. Well, we're gonna hit that one too. The famous pillar of salt.
Mhm.
We could pick on a girl now because we've been picking on all the boys now. Okay.
Well, there's more of them in the stories.
Yeah. No, we're not gonna pick on the girls. We love girls so much. I married one. Okay, here we go. So, all right, verse 12. Then the men said to Lot, "Have you anyone else here? Sons-in-law, sons and daughters, anyone you have in the city, bring them out of the place." Remember we talked about how coming under the protection. So since Lot is designated as protected, anyone of Lot's family gets the opportunity. But they have to join. See, they have to
They
come
can't
along.
reject it.
Yeah, because we're going to see right here.
Jesus, right?
Right. Right, which makes me kind of wonder a little bit, is that part of what the angels were doing? You're going to buy us in, Lot? And he does. And that's the most important thing. He does, because he's a good man, and he demonstrates that, right? For we're about to destroy this city, verse 13, to destroy this place, because the outcry against its people had become great before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it. Okay? Notice that the Lord said twice. You're going to see where that comes up again.
So in other words, victims of the people of the city have been crying to the Lord for vindication.
We were
That's what
wondering
it
about that
sounds
last week. Who's outcrying? At this
Yeah.
point, it'd be all the wives, the poor wives. Help us, we got some degenerate husbands.
Oh, that's interesting. That's
Yeah.
But I don't know it's that, or is it the outcry? We talked about the
If all visitors
Angels?
are treated that way,
the
then
council
they might be the
that
ones.
sit around the
Well, you have your territorial angels. I don't know what the outcry. It was kind of like that time when, remember, in this New Testament now, when Paul was trying to figure out what God wanted him to do, and every time he tried to go into a place, the Holy Spirit would stop him, and then in a dream, he saw somebody saying, right, Saul, come over, Paul, come over here, right? and about being in Philippi. And so who exactly was asking Paul to come over? Was it the jailer, or was it like an angel?
Well, now that I read verse 13, it says, "For we are about to destroy this place because their outcry
Yeah.
has become so great before the Lord that the Lord has sent us to destroy it."
Yeah, mine
So-
says the outcry.
Mine says the outcry too.
Yeah.
Okay, mine says their.
Mine's there.
Yeah, so if they're the ones that are, I mean, they're being,
You got a Mormon Bible?
no.
Yeah, mine's God outcry too. Oh, go ahead, I'm
Their
sorry.
outcry. Well,
The outcry.
if they're, you know,
What is your?
Yeah.
right in God's face, you know, they're being rebellious.
The outcry.
So you're saying the outcry could be
The men of the city
Yeah, yeah.
outcry, their
Wow,
sin and their
That's what I want. It could be that.
rebellion.
Yeah, it could be that. That's a good point. It could very well be that.
And what is interesting is they said God came down to see. It's like God doesn't know.
Yeah.
Why is it being put in that kind
Way.
of a way?
Well, the
of
same way in the
thought?
Tower of Babel. Well, I'm going to go down. I'm going to see what these guys are up to. You know, like we talked about last week, where when Dad, I'm going to go and see what my boys are up to. He already has a good idea what they're up to.
They're quiet. I gotta
But there is this idea of investigating. The Lord's not slow.
What does your Bible say?
Oh, mine says, because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord.
Now, see, the cry of them would go along with their
That's
And
outcry.
who's crying out? And if they're crying out, are they zapped and sodden? Like
Thank
they
you.
Get out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and it's going to mention about surrounding towns too somewhere in here. So, well, that's a good point. Or so did they get what happened to them? They did cry out, or is it the outcry
surrounded.
the ones who are sinning? It's an outcry, a
Well,
negative
people,
outcry.
like you said, in the surrounding towns don't like what they're doing because
That
it's
could
coming
be,
out.
uh,
I mean,
Bad neighbors.
Yeah.
Jim, did this go a little deeper? If you go think a little bit deeper, when the Lord comes, will it be enough outcry through the world that He will hear enough and say, "Okay, He'll come investigate"? Yeah.
Well, that's funny you say that, because there seems to be something to our praying. Like in Revelation, it's definitely our praying, our asking God, crying out to God, and Him moving in judgment. And so so if there's a case to be made for that, what the devil's plan is, if I can get everybody to shut up, or no one to have any hope anymore,
And make
Just
this
to shut it
normal.
all down.
This is normal.
right? Or just, try their own means, that no one will say anything. But we know that won't work. But I wonder if there's something to that. Yeah. Yeah, will there be an out? I think Jesus said as much when He says, but when the Lord comes, will He find faith on the earth? Right. So you wonder. That's what we need, hope. We hope. Never lose hope. Right?
We're right where she's at.
Huh?
I
Ye-
said, I'm
yeah.
right where she's at.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So, anyway, so Lot, verse 4, so Lot went out, verse 14, and said to his sons-in-law, who were to marry his daughters, "Up, get out of this place, for the Lord is about to destroy the city." But he seemed to his sons-in-law to be jesting. This is kind of in a similar run as the. Of course, we didn't get Noah doing this, but the idea of the flood, we're going to kind of similar thing. No one's paying any kind of attention. They're all, and that is one thing we do know when you're in that kind of an environment, it deadens you. People will say things like, and we know, right? People will say things. I said this, "Oh, I can quit anytime I want to." The problem is you never want to.
Yep.
It starts to take your will away. You're never as bad as you think you are, and so you just keep slowly right, moving down to the abyss, right? In fact, that's where we all are. It's amazing any of us are saved. That's why. Praise Jesus. Okay, but anyway.
Notice where it says the sons-in-law who were to marry his daughters.
Yeah, yeah.
So they weren't really married yet. They were betrothed.
Yeah, something, huh?
Well, mine says that they were married.
Yeah, mine
Hmm.
says married, and it says down in the bottom, it says that they, uh, when they say married, they just haven't
Consummated.
consummated it yet.
Okay.
That was the contract, so that's what they were gonna be as man and wife, so.
Yeah.
That makes it more interesting than him offering his 2 daughters.
Right?
Huh. And that makes a good point because they were still virgins. So is it yet? Yeah.
This is because they were technically called for, wasn't
Yeah.
Yes.
And here's what I want to know: were the
They probably
sons-in-law were they
paid
part of
them.
this? Were they part of the
it?
men
Think about
surrounding
it.
the
Yeah.
surrounding the house?
Hey, what they said all the population, so was they in the
That's
part
what I'm
of the
saying.
surround-
Maybe it's the best thing ever happened to those girls, but that's probably not the way they're looking at it, because you're going to see when we get later on. You need a man. I mean, I know in our culture, it's easier now for a woman to survive without a drip, but back then, drip or no drip, you needed someone to be able to make it. It was hard, right? Anyway, but he seemed to his sons-in-law to be jesting. Okay. As morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be swept away in the punishment of the city." Okay, and this go to your point, Monty. But he lingered, so the men seized him and his wife and his 2 daughters by the hand, the Lord being merciful to him, and they brought him out and set him outside the city. And as they brought them out, one said, "Escape for your life. Do not look," now pay close attention to this. "Do not look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the hills, lest you be swept away." I say because when you think of do not look back, we think just looking back. But it is, the commands there are connected with also don't stop anywhere. Right? So in other words, a do not look back could imply like going back. The look back is to go back. You'll see why that might help us a little when we get to the misses. Okay? Escape to the hills lest you be swept away. And then Lot said to them, "Oh no, my lords, behold, your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have shown me great kindness in saving my life. But I cannot escape to the hills, lest a disaster overtake me and I die." Basically, yes, he can't do it. I can't go. "But behold, this city is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one. Let me escape there. Is it not a little one? And my life will be saved." He said to him, "Behold, I grant you this favor also, that I will not overthrow the city of which you have spoken. Escape there quickly, for I can do nothing till you arrive there." Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. So what do you think about that? Why include that in there?
He wanted to do it his way
Yeah?
because it's easier,
Yeah.
but
But it's another city.
he didn't like follow the directions to just get out of town.
You picture, okay, so unlike Josh, who stays fit and shape, muscular and strong, Lot has just been sitting on the TV watching too much. Just sitting on his butt watching TV. He's finally got to run for his life. He can't run more than 50 feet. I mean, okay, not all the way true, but I don't know. He couldn't do it. So, can I just go there? And the angel says, "Okay, I'll spare that. I'll spare that town too now." It's kind of like when Abraham decided that he was gonna. Abraham decided he was gonna. Sarai decided that Abraham was gonna have a son through Hagar, and the Lord says, "Well, I guess your name's not gonna be father of many nations." I think it's interesting. So change in plans. Zoar was gonna get wiped out.
I believe so.
And then the Lord said, well, I guess it should go in there. I guess we can't wipe it out.
Yeah, it's fair too. Yeah.
So what do the Calvinists do with that? Thought whatever God had planned in the future is set in stone. We can't change anything. You know, when people like they'll say pray, they'll go, you pray, and like, well, why pray if God's already, everything's all predestined? Well, because it's good for you to pray. You change, not God. Well, I kind of just read right there that God kind of, well, okay, I guess we leave Zoar now. We leave that too.
But here it says, hurry up, run to it, for I cannot do anything until you get there.
Till you get
So to me, it's like I talked about orders. They had legit orders.
They did.
And they let them know
Yes.
we can't do anything. You know.
You think they got like Apple Watches? They're like, bro, they're not going to get any better. It's time to get going.
Or their Apple Watch said, "Okay, light made it. All right."
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Well, and that, okay, this is something that the New Testament is going to use. We can look at when Peter talks about the Lord knows how to preserve the righteous and reserve judgment for the ungodly. He will use this in a couple other episodes. Look at right here. God basically, with the angels, he held up everything until his boy Lot was saved. Things weren't like static, they were kind of fluid. I think that's pretty amazing,
I
actually.
think it's super cool.
Yes.
And you know how those other those daughters' boyfriends, I guess, is they would have fell under the umbrella of protection.
Yes,
Lot,
they would.
How Lot fell under Abraham's umbrella. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they could have been saved too if they didn't think he was joking.
Yeah.
And then what we read next wouldn't have happened either to gross us out even more.
I know it goes downhill.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to stick up for the girls a little bit, only because we got to frame it. We got to frame it a little bit because when you first read it, it's like, are you kidding me? This has to be the most disgusting thing I've ever read in my life.
Right, but we read about Sarah, Sarai, you know.
Yeah.
Did something kind of weird like that before? Because where I'm going at is like because the name going on, right? That's the reason why the girls did what they
Yes.
did to keep the lineage going. So Sarah didn't trust in the Lord, and so Sarah should marry Hagar.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, you see what the
Yes.
training, what their thinking is.
It is,
You
yes.
gotta have kids.
They're under a lot of pressure, and as far as they're concerned, they're probably the only people left on the earth. You're not getting no man. And so yes, and we'll hit that.
Well, because Lot didn't trust God to do what he said.
Yeah.
And then, so his girls don't really trust that anything else could. So they
You know, well, you
don't
could
get
bring that out
trained.
too, the fact that they're a product of their environment to some extent. Lot, way he acts.
There's no faith in anything necessarily. You have like a small bit, but not really.
Yeah. Okay, that's all good stuff. Well, anyway, so we could see, and I think we don't say this very often. I heard Dallas Willard say it. It's kind of like you could show it all throughout the Bible. But prayer can change God's mind. And we go on and on our theology about, no, because God doesn't change. But I see him changing his mind all the time. You don't, okay? So I won't get into that. I'll just say, then why pray? We can change God's mind. You're reading it right here, right? And you can say, well, God knew. Well, yes, he did. But we're seeing it where, I don't see anywhere like then my thought was, well, holy cow. You know, we always think in terms of, well, boy, once you break up the continuum, Zoar is supposed to get wiped out. But it doesn't get wiped out because Lot doesn't want to run so far. So now it survives. And then, you see what I'm saying? And now the whole continuum is blown up now. But
Maybe it was a bad town.
I don't-
Maybe
it-
there too.
well, we're going to talk about it. It seems like it was.
It was.
It was. But it's like, I don't read where it was a big thorn. But in any case, it's a little town, Darwin.
God causes all things to work together for the
Yes.
Because he can. I mean, he can. He's very smart.
Well, and
he
he pro-
knows how to work things. Okay.
And he protected his own.
Yeah.
Lot is one of his, under the umbrella of Abraham. And this is good for us when we pray. We can say, God, I know it looks like this, but we need this, Lord.
Well, the whole book of
I'm
Genesis
just
is
kidding.
kind of like that.
Yeah.
Through the whole
Yes.
story.
Yes.
That,
Yeah.
and I think God gets, everybody looks at Jesus a little softer, and God was the
Yeah,
hard-nosed guy. But,
Yes.
that's a very poor way.
No, that's exactly how people would look
apologize.
at it. Yeah, yeah.
That was disrespectful.
We talked about Sunday morning, same thing.
Yeah, but I think God, he would listen. This is a perfect example that, things changed that was not supposed to happen.
That's right. That's exactly right. I mean, already you could make the case, well, Lot was down where he shouldn't have been. His uncle already saved him once. He goes right back to Las Vegas again. We'd all be saying, let him rot.
He's on his own.
No, that ain't the way it works. Your family, right? Okay, so, verse 23. The sun had risen on the earth when Lot came to Zoar. Now watch this one. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire from the Lord out of heaven. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire from the Lord out of heaven. Okay, so you see, the Lord is said there twice, like as if there's two Lords. Right? So you got, then the Lord, which I'd argue this is the Lord that Abraham was talking with, right? Which would be,
Jesus.
I would say Jesus,
Reincarnate Jesus.
right? Rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire from the Lord out of heaven, right? That would be the Lord the Father. And he overthrew those cities, and all the valley, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew on the ground. So he just nuked. How exactly, what was that happened? I don't know. But he nuked it. But Lot's wife, we hear nothing from her, and this is her swan song. That's all we get. Behind him looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. So our first thought is, okay, she just looked back. But it could very well be, maybe look back, she went back. Remember, the barrage didn't start until they got to Zoar. It's very possible.
She was on her way. She was behind him.
She might have.
She was dragging her feet.
Or she might have turned around and went back.
Well, yes. But
She's a city girl and worse than he is a city boy.
But it says that she was behind him.
Yeah.
But his wife from behind him turned around and went back.
Yeah.
So she wasn't even keeping up with him. Maybe she was like really dragging her feet. She really didn't want to leave.
No,
That was
that's the
sign.
point of it.
Yeah.
But he
She
wasn't
didn't want it.
guiding her away either.
Yeah, he didn't grab her and say, "Come on, you're coming with me."
That's what
He
makes you
kinda went
think,
on
and the
ahead.
angels didn't, so maybe what it was, when it says look back, it was more like she decided, I'm going back. Going back to the city. And then she got vaporized with the
Zapped.
pillar of salt.
But you'd have to wonder why she would have wanted to go back, considering the condition of the men that were there. The
Well, it-
women, doesn't sound like the women were held in high esteem.
No, but if she was raised there,
Yeah,
that's all she knows.
yeah,
Well, she had family there, didn't she?
If she was raised there.
possibly, yeah, we don't know.
We
Yeah.
don't know,
We don't
but
know
that's.
anything really about her.
I think in her heart, that's why she turned around. She missed Sodom.
Where Jesus said, remember Lot's wife.
But
when he was warning them about the fall of Jerusalem.
Jim, it's this. We talk about Sodom through the whole time. Then all of a sudden, right here, Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Gomorrah wasn't even in the picture
Right.
until.
Well, and Zor was supposed to be destroyed too.
You're exactly right.
But he saved Zor because of Sodom. So
Because a lot.
maybe they all. Yeah. So. Yeah. What did I say?
Hmm?
He said because of Sodom.
Because it's
A Freudian slip.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm just thinking all of the cities must have been kind of like, working together in their
They were all evil.
their sin.
They were all evil.
They were all working
Yeah.
together in their sin.
Yeah.
He just happens to name these two because Lot's there, but yeah, maybe there's 5 of them.
Uh-huh. And I think they're all descendants of Ham.
They might be the two biggest ones of the bunch.
Yeah. Yeah. It became like the poster children for God's judgment. Makes me wonder more like what was going on there. They forever
So they're
became.
descendants of the son who made fun of
Yeah.
Noah.
Yeah.
They're descendants of Canaan.
Ham. Yeah.
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 Okay.
And Canaan.
So yeah.
Yeah. And that's that's interesting because when you read, we'll just read through this last part really quick, because it's reminiscent of similar of the flood. So we'll close out on this. We'll have to start with it next week. Now Lot went up out of Zoar and lived in the hills with his 2 daughters, for he was afraid to live in Zoar. We don't know exactly why, but it sounds like, So he lived in a cave. I mean, maybe he's thinking that the angels, they'll kind of like rethink their thoughts. We're going to nuke this place anyway. I don't know. But anyway, or because maybe they were like Sodom.
Well, just think of this: these cities are gone now. Who was the last person running from that city? It was
Yeah.
Lot, his 2 daughters. So they will go straight to him. So what went on?
Yes, that's a fair point. I like it. So he lived in a cave with his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there's not a man on earth to come into us after the manner of all the earth." See, there we go, those kind of nicety euphemisms, right? Well, we need to kind of... Okay. "Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve offspring from our father." So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father. He did not know when she lay down or when she arose. The next day the firstborn said to the younger, "Behold, I lay last night with my father. Let us make him drink wine tonight also. Then you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve offspring from our father." That law's pretty dopey too. I was thinking, I couldn't help but think in my head, when did he start to figure things out, like something bad happened? Those tummies started getting big or what? Anyway, so they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. The firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. Have pretty much been enemies of Israel all throughout the Old Testament. And then the younger also bore a son and called his name Ben-Ami. He is the father of the Ammonites to this day, and they too were...
It couldn't be because there were no men. Because if they were in Zor, and Zor did not get destroyed, it must be just there weren't any men that were attracted to women.
Or there were men there that were already married.
Yeah.
Or they left before they could meet any men.
But they
Because
pretty
they
much,
had-
to stick up a little bit for them is, here I go, I'm sticking up for a lot of activity. Well, it's because, remember, for the ladies back then, if you didn't have children, you were nothing. And you look at Sodom and Gomorrah go up in a nuke flame, and you're thinking, and remember, they don't know that was the world. They might have thought the whole world was coming to an end. It's possible that they literally thought they were one of the very last few in existence, and so they did what desperate people do. Still pretty gross. And Lot, they make, the narrative makes out that Lot didn't know this was going on, so he's not culpable, but I don't.
That's hard to believe. Like, how drunk is Lot? And then he's still
How's he
actively
any good?
involved in this event.
Yeah. I know.
And then 2 nights in a row, he's an old guy. I'm not old, but like 2 nights in a row, I'm old enough to
I
I'm not about
don't
to
know.
Drinking, yeah.
Yes, it's troubling in a lot of different ways.
Well, one thing maybe incest wouldn't look that back then like it is today. We think it's super,
Right.
It's super.
That's true.
gross. Then it wouldn't thought that way.
Yeah.
As much.
Well, Abraham and Sarah were
Yeah.
brother and sister.
Yeah.
Half brother and
Per
sister.
Abraham.
Well, if you were like, if you thought, this was all your existence, you'd think a little different. It's like, who do I have to worry about? There's not really anybody around. I make my own rules, kind of a thing.
If they got out of that cave and looked around.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they would have saw much looking around. I think it was bleak still. We're talking New Mexico. I'm going to pick on New Mexico. That's terrible. Pick on New
Now,
Mexico.
Ruth was a Moabite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if it had.
That's way later.
Right, but if it had not been the father of the Moabites to this day, so Ruth.
We got to thank
in
these
the line of
daughters.
Jesus,
Oh, that's yes.
So it really is
yes, that's
quite-
a wild thought.
Yeah.
So true though, but
Yep.
Yeah.
because that was a
absolutely.
line.
Yes.
Wow,
Good
that's deep.
observation, Mom.
So,
That really
out of,
true,
out
I
of
agree.
evil, out of bad, if God means it for good, it's gonna be good.
Okay, well, I'd say, how do we apply this? Well, don't live in a cave. One, you can help it. You can help it. If
Watch
you
out for
do,
them daughters.
and if you got that, don't. But if you do live in a cave, remember, there is more people out there. So don't think
Take
you
it
deal.
easy on the wine.
Yeah, easy on the one. Don't bring wine in there with you.
If you have one bad night, don't try to follow
Where did the sons find wives that make these, the Moabites and,
Where are the other men that married?
the sons had them? come
Marry
up
somebody.
They
with
grew up
somewhere.
and had,
They
family.
found wives
Yeah,
They moved out.
from Zor.
yeah. I guess eventually they kind of
They ran away from home.
figured things out. I mean, we don't. I don't think we're going to read anywhere where Abraham. Not say he was Abram. Now he's Abraham. We don't read anywhere where he made contact with Lot again,
Yeah.
right? But eventually, and that's one nice thing too about bringing in a traveler. And a traveler comes in, and then you show them hospitality. They bring you some news. So maybe at some point they brought him news, Jim. Hey, there are towns out there. What? There is? I don't know. We don't know. I don't think that anywhere else does it say.
Well, I think by now I'd be like, okay, if you haven't figured out by now, I'm gonna quit rescuing you.
Yeah.
So at some point you gotta figure it out.
But in God's case, maybe He never quits. He never gives up.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're really. God knows how to preserve. That's the thing too, right? What if you love someone, they're in a bad spot. So I'm like, God, I need you to judge all this, but keep this one safe. And we're finding out because we live, for us, we're living in a world where, a lot of people, we just need to nuke the whole thing and start over. Well, wait a minute. How does God keep the ungodly, for the day of judgment, but then protect His own? We're seeing all kinds of examples.
It's like, when you read the Bible, it's like God's talking to us, like the whole thing is like one person's story. Because if you think about well, what if you were just born and lived and died in this terrible time and didn't have much of a chance, right? But
Right.
then it's almost like the story reads as if, well, it's like our own life. Like, I don't know if
Yeah.
that makes any
Yeah.
sense. Like, and we have these ups and downs and goods and terribles and
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything to that, but I don't know. That's kind
No.
of how I think about it.
Mm. Mm.
Mhm. Yeah, because there's nobody in the Bible other than Jesus that didn't have didn't do some wrong things. And we're like, why? You're supposed to be such a good person. How did you do that? Like King David, you know? How were you the apple of
Okay.
God's eye after you did that, you know?
He begged him for forgiveness.
Now
all
I'm
the time.
Jesus
tracking
was the
better.
only one.
Yeah.
Jesus was the only one. So yeah, you're right.
But
It
you're
is
saying that we
basically
look
our
for that.
story.
Right.
'Cause
Saying that we look for that perfection in every person
Yes.
we see
Yes.
as good because we're seeking.
That's great, you know, and that kind of goes back to our conversation right at the table where, you know, some of these people, Trump and them, you're like, it's hard for us to go, you're using him, Lord? I mean, can't you find better? And like, where do we fall on this guy? Yes, he's done some good things, but whoa. It's everything I don't like in a person, and we're trying to find a scale. And Lot will be one of those, right? On the one hand, says, okay, Lot, hospitable. Oh, Lot, you're ready to throw your daughters out to these dogs? See what I'm saying? What do you make out of Lot? And God protects him. God
Yeah.
loves him. And
That's how I feel about every president we've had. It's like, really? Really?
Yeah.
My mom was like, yeah, he's in there because, you know, he wanted him there for a purpose and we just have to pray for him. Like, I ain't praying for Clinton.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I know.
You
Sometimes
know,
if you don't
so-
like somebody, it's really hard to pray for
Yeah,
them.
like,
It is.
even, I mean, not that I didn't like Bush, but I could care less. But then Obama, really? You know, just like every president irks me in some way. So.
Well, the world's full of broken people.
Yeah, none of them have been perfect.
Jim, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If Lot didn't fall under Abraham's protection, let's just say Lot was just there and Abraham was not in the picture, would God still protected Lot in the way he did?
Well, I guess I can't answer that. I'll have to ask the Lord, would you? But,
I just don't think it
well,
would
to your
be
point,
that-
it seems to be framed that way that, you know, because remember, God made a promise that he called Abraham out. And because Abraham's blessed, everybody under his jurisdiction is blessed too. And so Lot is blessed because he's Abraham's.
And I just don't
Yeah.
think it'd be nothing like what we're seeing without Abraham.
Yeah.
I truly
Right.
think it was a true umbrella of
Yeah.
protection.
In fact, even Hagar received that protection.
That's very
She was
true.
totally blessed, right?
At the well.
Under that protection, same thing.
Maybe
So
that's
kind
why
of
maybe that's why the Lord told her to go back. So she would be under that protection.
Yeah.
Maybe go back.
I was just gonna say maybe that's kind of a picture of Jesus, though, right? You know, we're under His protection,
Exactly.
right? And who are
That's
who are all of
exactly
us.
right.
That's true, exactly.
That's exactly right. That's the key, and that's how they would look at it. See, we're more very individual in how we see everything, but for them, it's what community do you belong to? Right, community of Jesus.
Josh,
Oh,
that was an excellent point.
Yeah.
That really was.
yeah. But you know, the Bible's full of that. These characters, like, wow, look at when we get to the book of Judges. Gosh, some of these judges just aren't. You know, and I think it's the Message Bible that when it does the introduction to Judges, it says it's almost like it's God saying, "Well, if this is the best you give me to work with, then I'll work my salvation through them." And so you got these broken people, and so it's good. It's good for us to see that, okay, because I'm one of them. I'm one of the ones that I'm not a Daniel. I'm not the. I seem to have a lot of flaws, a lot of brokenness, but God can use people like
There was a
that.
good judge, Samuel.
Samuel's a great
He
one.
was awesome.
Yeah, he
He
was.
really
Yeah.
was.
I see people pound on David quite a bit, you know, and we're struck by that God calls David a man after his own heart, but then we just see these flaws in him, which clearly are there.
But that's true. But read Psalms 51.
Yeah.
The man knew how
Yeah.
to ask forgiveness.
Yeah.
Very, very.
That's right.
Very, very
Yeah.
serious. So that's the difference of David and Saul.
Yeah, that's right.
Saul did
That's right.
read. What did you read about Saul repenting?
Yeah.
No, after his war, he walked around with. Did you read the part where he went to war and then Samuel went to find him, and he was out at the city? They donated like a statue to him, and he was like a politician. Thank you for this statue. And Samuel was looking for him too.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you doing?
But
And he sinned big time.
David never wavered in his love of God.
That's
Because
true.
I had a hard time. What do you mean he's a man after your own heart? And then I realized, well, all the others kind of, veered off, but never David. No, God was his God, and he never wavered in his love for God. So that's
Yeah,
what I
That's
believe
very
God
true.
He
means.
knew what he
a
did
man
was
after my
wrong,
own heart.
and he
Yeah,
repented every
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, there's lots
Yeah.
of people that know what they did wrong, but still try to say, I'm fine.
Whitewash it a little, yeah.
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 But David didn't. No.
Yeah.
And that's why God loved him, because
Well, he did some with Bathsheba. But here's the thing, I always think is maybe we don't understand what it means, being a man after God's own heart. See, we kind of assume, well, to be someone after God's own heart, the first thing you got to be is perfect.
no.
You can't mess up. And then, we have these ideas. Well, I think it's pretty clear that no, it must be something else, because God says, here's a man after my own heart, and David had a lot of
Flaws.
brokenness.
Yeah.
Um,
But he never wavered in his love of God.
but definitely he had a certain character and zeal about him. You could definitely see some things about him where you're like, wow, this guy's amazing. And there's some parts like, whoa, this dude don't want to be trifled with. But that gives us hope. So anyway, you guys did really well. We made it through a brutal chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I think I always ask people that.